Scotland's Amazing Stories, the podcast where every episode takes you on a journey through captivating tales, thrilling adventures, and unforgettable moments.
It's amazing.
From heart-pounding mysteries to inspiring true stories, we'll bring you narratives that will spark your imagination and keep you on the edge of your seat. So sit back, relax, and get ready to explore the extraordinary. Because with Ron, every story is an amazing story.
That's amazing.
What's that you say?
Hello, and welcome to the podcast. There are no secrets in Scotland Yard, only cases waiting to be solved. That was the premise of the long-running radio drama Secrets of Scotland Yard, a transatlantic favorite that pulled back the curtain on some of the Yard's most chilling and baffling investigations. Broadcast from the late 1940s through the 50s, it was part crime procedural, part cautionary tale, and always rooted in fact. On today's show, we will present two cases from the series. One about a violinist with a burglar's touch and for murder. And the other case, well, it's about a matchstick and a duster. But first, a bit about the Yard. Before it became the legendary headquarters of crime fighting in Britain, Scotland Yard had nothing to do with Scotland. And not much of a yard either. In fact, the original Great Scotland Yard was a modest little courtyard tucked behind Whitehall, where a Scottish king once stayed while visiting London. It was essentially a royal Airbnb, only with a little less breakfast. Fast forward to 1829 when Sir Robert Peel said, "You know what London needs? Fewer pickpockets and more men with top hats and mustaches." Thus, the Metropolitan Police Force was born. Their first HQ, you guessed it, Scotland Yard. They had a dozen men, a couple of lanterns, and a vague sense where crime might be happening. Detectives didn't even wear uniforms back then. The idea was to blend in, which mostly meant looking confused in a bowler hat and asking strangers if they'd seen any mischief lately. Over time, Scotland Yard gained fame. Not because they solved every case, because when they did solve one, they made very sure you heard about it. "Case closed," they'd cry, followed quickly by, "Would you mind terribly putting that in the newspapers?" Today, Scotland Yard is a modern, high-tech hub of crime solving. But we still remember the good old days, when the clues were footprints in the mud, and the most powerful tool on the force was an eyebrow raise and a well-timed, very curious indeed. The radio show Secrets of Scotland Yard was the real deal, and we do have 2 episodes from the show. Let's get to them. For our first story from the Yard, we open a file on one of Britain's most elusive criminals. A man who charmed by day and killed by night. His name was Charles Peace. Born in Sheffield, 1832, raised in the shadows, he began with petty theft, but his ambition grew darker. He became a ghost in the night, scaling rooftops, slipping through locked doors, and eluding capture with clever disguises and a disturbing knack for misdirection. But when obsession turned to murder, Scotland Yard took notice, and the chase began. This is not just a tale of crime. It's a game of cat and mouse played across England's rooftops and alleyways. until justice finally caught up. So settle in as we bring you a true tale from the yard's shadowed vaults. The Man with the Violin, the Charles Peace Case.
The Mutual Broadcasting System presents The Secrets of Scotland Yard with your host and narrator, Clive Brooke.
How do you do? This is Clive Brooke. Here is the story of Charles Peace, musician and murderer. Just over 70 years ago in Manchester, England, a man named William Habron was on trial for the murder of Police Constable Nicholas Cock. The jury were out considering their verdict, and in the court itself the usual debates were raging as to what that verdict would be.
Look, mister, I don't know you, I'm afraid, but what would you say to a little bet on the verdict? I say this man Ebron will get off.
I'll take your bet with great pleasure. I think and I hope that he'll hang.
Right. 5 shillings.
Make it 10. I'll give you 3 to 1.
Done with you, sir. Beg pardon, but what makes you so sure? I've never heard such a flimsy lot of evidence. Just because he was heard threatening the policeman the day before, and just because his boot happened to fit that mark left in the mud.
Well, those aren't the things that matter to me. The man looks like a murderer, and I think the jury are convinced.
Do you find the prisoner at the bar guilty or not guilty of the murder of Police Constable Cock on the 27th of July last?
We find him guilty.
It was odd that the winner of the bet should have been so positive of Habron's guilt, for he was the one man in England who knew that Habron was innocent. He knew this because he himself it was who had shot and killed the policeman 3 months previously. The winner of the bet was Charles Peace, and it was completely in keeping with his character that he should attend the trial of the man who was sentenced to death for a crime that he, Peace, had committed. At this time, Charles Peace was 44 years of age. He was ugly with a maimed hand and a permanent limp. His father had been a wild beast tamer, but had failed to tame young Charles, who grew up into a brutal and unruly ruffian with a passion for playing the violin. One day in the same year as the Habron trial...
Yes? What is it?
Sorry to bother you, Mr. Peace. Me and my wife live in the house opposite. My name's Dyson, Arthur Dyson. I'm an engineer.
How do you do? This beautiful lady is your wife?
Yes.
We heard that you made picture frames, Mr. Peace, and wondered if you'd make some for us.
There's nothing I wouldn't do for such a charming lady as you, Mrs. Dyson.
Well, look then, Mr. Peace. We've made a note of the size of the frame we want, so would you go ahead with a couple, and we'll see if we want any more.
Yes. You may call for them in a couple of days. Goodbye. Goodbye, Mrs. Dyson.
Oh, goodbye, Mr. Peace. I'll come for them the day after tomorrow.
Charles Peace set to work with a will. Perhaps he enjoyed making picture frames, or was it actually that Mrs. Dyson was a singularly attractive woman? In any case, the frames were ready when she called 2 days later. Arthur Dyson watched for some weeks while Charles Peace made himself more and more of a nuisance. Finally, sick of having the man continually at his door, in and out of the house, or waiting for Mrs. Dyson in the street, Arthur Dyson wrote out on a card, "Charles Peace is requested not to interfere with my family," and threw it into Peace's garden. By way of answer, Peace tried to trip Dyson up in the street and threatened to kill both him and his wife with the revolver that he then produced. Dyson went to the police.
For 6 weeks he's been pestering my wife with his attentions. He knows he can no longer come into my house by ordinary means, so he dresses up as a woman and pretends he wants to sell Mrs. Dyson something. I've twice caught him peeking through keyhole of our front door. So you see, officer, I've good cause to take out this summons against him. To be doubly sure that he leaves us alone, we're moving to another part of Sheffield.
And when the Dysons went to move into their new house, they were met by Charles Peace coming out of it. He ran off as they approached, but he was back that night.
Oh, you wicked man. Don't you know there's a summons against you? How dare you come back to bother us?
I came back for you, Nellie. You coming away with me?
Coming away with... You must be mad.
No good you calling me things. Are you coming with me? Got quite a bit of money, my love, and just you and I.
I don't know what you think you're saying. Now go away from here, Charles.
I'm asking you for the last time, Nellie. Are you coming?
If you don't go away from here this minute, Charles Peace, I'll call the
No, you won't. Not when you've seen this. It's a pistol, my dear. And either you do as I say, or...
Nellie! Oh, there you are. What's this? What? Why, you scoundrel, how dare you come back here?
Good evening, Mr. Dyson. I shouldn't come any nearer if I were you.
Threaten me, would you?
Look out, they have a gun.
The one shot hit the house, the other went through Arthur Dyson's brain. Charles Peace had committed his second murder, and this time there was no one else to be tried in his place. He was known to be the culprit. Hue and cry were raised. £100 was offered as a reward for his capture, but no trace of him could be found. A year went by. Mrs. Dyson went to America. It seemed as though her husband's murder would remain unavenged. It was during these 2 years following the Dyson murder that Charles Peace became the legendary figure that he is today. We are assured that Sherlock Holmes once said, "My old friend Charles Peace was a violin virtuoso." But the murderer had other talents as well. Reciting, for instance.
Slaves like this. Fight for a plot whereon the numbers cannot try the cause, which is not tomb enough and continent to hide the slain. Oh, from this time forth, my thoughts be bloody, or be nothing worth. Thank you. Now, my friends, after those magnificent words of our greatest poet, I would like to play you a violin solo of a song by one of our great musicians, Sir Henry Bishop. Home, Sweet Home.
Modestly billing himself as the second Paganini, or the great Ethiopian musician, Charles Peace toured the country for a while before taking up permanent residence in London. The police dossier of his escapades became larger and larger. Why, then, was he never arrested? But he was. There was one famous occasion.
You know, Bill, the sooner we get this bloke to Scotland Yard, the happier I'll be.
Yes, he's a tricky devil. Can't trust him an inch.
Ah, well, don't speak too loud. You might wake him. Even with him tied to you by handcuff, I prefer to keep him asleep. He looks just like a monkey.
He smells like one. You might open the windows, don't you think?
Yeah, right you are. Oh, stuck. Pull the strap a minute.
I've got it. Try hanging it at the top. Hey, here. How'd you... Hey.
Oh, no, you don't. Stop it, Bill. You've got to jump from the train.
Goodbye, gentlemen. Have a pleasant journey to the yard.
Pull the communication cord.
Right.
And with that, the elusive Charles Peace leapt from the train. With his remarkable ability to disguise his features, Charles Peace overcame the limp and the crippled hands that might otherwise have helped Scotland Yard to capture him. "They look only at your face," he once said. "If your face is different, the rest of you is different." He eventually used walnut juice to bring about a permanent change in his appearance. At about that time, strangely enough, a respectable old gentleman had taken up residence in Peckham, a suburb in the south of London. Calling himself Mr. John Thompson, he had moved in with his current wife, Jean, a Mrs. Ward, whom he was pleased to call his housekeeper, and a considerable collection of dogs, cats, and violins.
Quiet, you pups, quiet. Down, down. Thank you, Jean, my dear, thank you. It was charming. You do play well.
That's a new fiddle you're using, Charlie.
Yes, I picked it up yesterday. Oh, 9 o'clock already. Mr. Snell will be coming in soon. Is Mrs. Ward joining us for a trio?
She is.
Really, Jean, I wish you could get over this sulky attitude towards Bertie just because I married her before I met you.
Oh, I don't mind that, Charlie. It's your keeping her here in the house.
Oh, what's so wrong in that? No one thinks of her as anything but my housekeeper.
It's not very pleasant for me. Oh, there's that silly old Mr. Snell.
Don't be so rude about our neighbour. He's important to my position in local society. And don't forget, my name's John, not Charlie.
Oh, Mr. Thompson. Mr. Snell is here to see you.
Come in, Snell, come in.
Oh, evening, Thompson.
Don't go away, Mrs. Ward. You don't mind my housekeeper staying, do you, Snell? I thought we'd have a trio later on.
Oh, delightful, delightful.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. If you're sure Mrs. Thompson won't mind. Don't need to ask my permission. It's Charlie's house.
I always love it when you call me Charlie, my dear. A nickname, Snell, a nickname that my wife calls me.
Oh, delightful, delightful. I sent that letter off to the Admiralty, Thompson. I've given them full details of the invention.
Good, I hope they'll buy it.
What exactly is this invention of yours, Mr. Snell?
Well, briefly, Mrs. Thompson, it's a method of raising sunken vessels by the displacement of the water within them by means of air and gases. Your husband's help to me has been invaluable. Invaluable.
Now we've written to the Admiralty offering to raise 2 ships that were sunk some time ago.
You don't really think they'll accept it, do you, Mr. Thompson? And why shouldn't they accept it, Mrs. Ward? What do you know about it, anyway? Well, of course, if I'm going to be insulted by a...
Now, ladies, please. We have a guest. Shall I play for you?
I shouldn't think Mr. Snell wants to listen to us.
No, please play. I'd be delighted. Delighted.
It was after charming domestic scenes such as this that Charles Peace, for of course he was Mr. Thompson, committed most of his burglaries. On this particular night he slipped out of the house on one of his expeditions, and a few hours later 2 policemen patrolling in Blackheath, another London suburb, saw something rather suspicious.
Oh, try to trap me, would you? Well, I don't keep this toy strapped to my wrist for nothing.
Are you all right, Rob? Yes, Jack, he missed me. Now, you better come quietly, mister.
Oh, so there are 2 of you, are there? Keep back. Keep back. Or I'll shoot you.
There's no use, my friend. You can't... Oh! Oh!
Don't worry, Rob. I got him this time. Oh, no, you don't, mister. I got you now. He didn't hit you, did he, Rob? Rob! Rob!
Charles Peace had nearly committed his 3rd murder. Luckily, the shots were not fatal, and Police Constable Robinson pulled through in hospital later. At the station, the captured burglar gave his name as John Ward. His age is 60. A set of housebreaking tools was found in his pocket. He was remanded for a week and then committed for trial at the Old Bailey. While waiting in prison, Peace, still calling himself John Ward, wrote to Mr. Snell, the inventor, asking him to visit in prison a poor, broken, unfortunate man. Now, Mr. Snell did not know anyone called John Ward, but out of curiosity he visited the prison all the same. To his astonishment, he found that his correspondent was none other than his old friend and neighbor, Thompson. He immediately told the police, who went straight to the Thompsons' address.
Yes, what is it now?
Beg pardon, madam. I'm Inspector Kelvin, Scotland Yard. Are you Mrs. Thompson?
Suppose. Anyway, I'm the only one left in the house. That pesky cat of a first wife of his has cleared off and taken most of Charlie's valuables with her.
Charlie? I thought this man's Thompson's Christian name was John.
Lord, didn't you know? His name isn't Ward or John or Thompson or anything else he likes to tell you. He's Charlie Peace, the man you've been looking for 2 years over that Dyson murder.
Well.
So you didn't know who you had in your prison, eh?
Well, no, ma'am. To be quite frank, we didn't.
Well, in that case, to be quite frank, I'd like the £100 reward you've offered for information on his whereabouts.
Having been found guilty, the law was not through with him yet. Scotland Yard had checked the facts given to them by Mrs. Thompson, and a second trial was now on its way. A trial of Charles Peace for the murder 2 years previously of Arthur Dyson. When Peace, in a battered condition, was turned over by his warders to the Sheffield police for examination before the trial...
handing over the prisoner, Charles Peace, to you, sir, for examination. We just brought him up from London.
Oh, I'm glad you told me his name. I can hardly see him for bandages. What happened to him?
Well, sir, he tried to repeat a trick he played a year ago. It was on the train. He somehow managed to slip his hand out of the handcuff and and flung himself through the window.
How fast was the train travelling?
About 50 miles an hour, sir. Stunning for a man of 60.
But he didn't get away.
No, sir. I managed to grab his boot. The other warder pulled the alarm signal. The prisoner was dragged along some way.
Which accounts for the bandages?
Yes, sir. Frankly, sir, I don't think he's as badly hurt as he pretends to be.
Sounds just like him. Oh, he's an awful faker. Well, thank you, Sergeant.
Thank you, sir. Oh, and Happy New Year to you, sir.
Thank you. The same to you. I don't think it'll be a particularly pleasant or a particularly long one for Mr. Peace.
Mrs. Dyson, whom Charles Peace had found so difficult to let alone, had been brought all the way from America to give evidence against him. Peace seemingly retained none of his former feeling for her. Wrapped in rugs, complaining continually of his bruises and aches, he harangued his examiners.
I mustn't believe her. I have lots of witnesses who can prove that that bad, base woman had threatened my life and had threatened her husband's life. I can't talk to you. I'm so bad. My head, I feel very bad. That horrible misery of a woman often threatened to kill me. She pointed pistols and things at me and her husband. She's wicked to the core. Wicked, wicked.
Oh, yes, Charles Peace was quite an actor. His exploits, his escapes, his disguises, his love affairs, all these had captured the imagination of the public. It was therefore a huge crowd that gathered in the Leeds courtroom to witness his trial.
Prisoner at the bar. I pass upon you the only sentence...
Have mercy, O Lord!
I pass upon you the only sentence...
Mercy, have mercy, O
The only
Lord!
sentence that fits the crime you have committed, which is that you be taken to a place of...
In his cell before the execution, Charles Peace confessed to the murder of Police Constable Cock 2 years before, the murder for which another man had been sentenced to death.
Sizes and had William Habron sentenced to death. I even had a bet on the verdict. Now, sir, you're a clergyman, I know. Perhaps you will say I was a hardened wretch for allowing an innocent man to suffer for my crime. What man would have done otherwise in my position? I should certainly have been hanged for the crime. And I tell you this, for I feel that I have nothing further to gain by secrecy.
It is right that you should have confessed this. Have you anything further that you wish to say to me?
I wish you to let the world know that I hope no one will taunt or jeer at my wife and children on my account, but will have mercy on them.
The Mutual Broadcasting System has presented The Secrets of Scotland Yard with your host and narrator, Clive Brooke.
I thought that story was a bit disjointed, and I'm not sure it really did the guy justice. I did do a bit of research on Charles Peace, and he was a real piece of work. It even was made into a 1949 British crime film directed by Norman Lee. The story of the 19th century burglar and murderer is told in flashback in a lecture by Sir Clement Barnes at the Heldon Police College. Peace's murder of Arthur Dyson, his subsequent false identities, his career as a burglar, and his shooting of a policeman, for these crimes, he was eventually arrested, tried, and sentenced to death by hanging. All completely documented. Our next story is an odd one. It is titled Just a Matchstick and a Duster. I tried to find a link to a real crime, but wasn't able to. I'm guessing that this Secrets of the Scotland Yard was based on a real case, but with the names and details altered. Here is a story involving all those unusual objects.
Most people think they have the makings of a detective in them. You think you have? Well, if you do, you're right. For no matter what your profession and special abilities are, you can be quite sure use could be found for them in modern crime detection. Applied science, Psychology, medicine, and the law in all its ramifications are the tools of the modern detective. There are trained men of these professions spending all their working hours in departments and laboratories of the grey stone building by the River Thames that's famous the world over as Scotland Yard. Would you like to come inside? I want to show you one small section of the science laboratory, for it played an important part in the case we're going to follow. The task the expert in charge here has is to make invisible things visible. Magic? Oh, yes. But not spells and incantations. No, this is modern magic, using the precision instruments with which this room is filled. Here, a burnt letter, reduced almost to a handful of black ashes, can be restored and read as easily as when it was first written. Telltale stains, apparently washed clean, show up as though they were freshly made, and a seemingly innocent document placed under the rays of an ultraviolet lamp reveals the secret message written between the lines. Now, just remember these things I'm telling you, and see if you can anticipate how they will fit into the solution of this case, which we have called Just a Matchstick and a Duster. A matchstick and a duster. Harmless, useful things. You'd never think they could be the means of hanging a man, would you? Here's how it happened. One afternoon, about 1:30, some years ago, a taxi driver just deposited two young men at the Westminster Police Court behind the Houses of Parliament. He was a very contented taxi driver. His cab had hardly been unoccupied all morning, and his fares had been generous with their tips. He had just started the cab and was off to his well-earned dinner when, from Rochester Row, nearly opposite Westminster Police Court, came a shout.
Taxi! Let me, my luck's in today. Coming, Governor.
Can you give me a hand with this trunk? It's a bit heavy.
Right, go. Blimey, it's heavy, all right. What you got in it? Money?
No, it's books.
Books, eh? Oh, they do weigh heavy. And you just pop in the cab, Gov. They'll be all right in front with me. Just put the old strap round them. What's the idea? Now, where to?
Getting Cross Station.
That's how it started. Now, of course, you're immediately suspicious. You're wondering what's in that trunk, aren't you? Well, you may be right. You remember my telling you that no matter what your profession, you probably had the makings of a detective in you? Well, the chief luggage attendant at Charing Cross Station proves my point. He did a little deduction and then called Scotland Yard, with the result that shortly afterwards, Chief Inspector Cornish hurried down to the left luggage office.
Thank you for coming so promptly, Inspector. I hope I haven't brought you down here on a wild goose chase.
Oh, don't worry about that. It was reported to me that you had a trunk here you weren't quite happy about.
Yes, sir. It's this big black one right over here. I've been worrying about it since soon after we received it.
Oh, why?
One of the shoe blacks in the station yard found a little rolled up ball of yellow paper which had been dropped. Well, to tell you the truth, it looked more like it had been thrown away. Anyhow, he had a look at it, and it turned out to be the
receipt for this trunk?
That's right, sir. Here it is. Now, the thing that struck me as suspicious was that the shoe black found this ticket within a few minutes of the trunk being deposited.
Oh, in other words, you were pretty well forewarned that that trunk would never be reclaimed.
That's it. I waited 3 days just to be on the safe side. You think that's long enough, Inspector?
Under the circumstances, yes, I think so.
You see, I worked it out like this. It stands to reason it's unlikely this ticket was dropped by accident, because if it had been, the man wouldn't have rolled it up in a ball first. Now, would he?
That's a very sound bit of deduction. Well, you've convinced me that we'd better have this trunk open and have a look inside it.
Right, you are, sir. I'll have one of my fellows force it for you.
Oh, I don't think that'll be necessary. Thanks all the same.
Hello. You've got it open already? That's quick work.
Just a trick of the trade.
Here, I'll help you with the lid.
Well, whatever it is, it's well wrapped up. Very nasty.
It's a woman's head.
Removed to Scotland Yard, and there carefully relieved of its grisly contents. The body was that of a woman about 40 years of age. He'd been suffocated and then dismembered. Used as wrappings were an old duster and torn strips of her clothes. The latter were put aside to be examined for laundry marks as a possible means of identification. On the trunk itself was a label on which was written F. Austin, St. Leonard. Not much to go on, was it? How could the Yard set about tracing the owner of this trunk? Whatever his name, it certainly would not be F. Austin. The first thing to do was to find out where the trunk had been purchased. Impossible? Not quite, but it took time. 90 hours to be exact. Yes, that's just under 4 days. It came from a second-hand dealer in Brixton.
Yes, Inspector. I sold that trunk to a man about, middle 30s, I should say. Dark, medium build. And come think of it, I suppose that description could apply to thousands of men.
Well, there's something to go on.
Pity I can't be more helpful.
Well, there are one or two more questions. For instance, when did you sell that trunk? Would you have that in your books?
Yes, I can check it up for you very quickly. Here it is. 3rd of May.
Good.
Oh, there's another thing I just noticed.
Oh, what's that?
That label isn't the same one as was on the trunk when I sold it.
Sure about that?
Yes. The original label was much dirtier than this one and very creased. But that's not all. It had nearly the same thing on it. F. Austin, St. Leonard. But on this one, St. Leonard is spelt wrong. Lenards instead of Leonards.
Oh, good work. You don't miss much, do you?
No, and I can tell you another thing, too. If there was an F. Austin at St. Leonard, it wouldn't be the man you're after.
Oh? How do you work that out?
Well, if he lived in St. Leonard, he would know how to spell it, wouldn't he?
Yeah, maybe you got something there. Well, evidently our friend the murderer thought a new label would look more convincing when he left the trunk in the cloakroom.
You mean he took the trouble to copy from the old one? I wonder if there is an F. Austin in St. Leonard.
Oh, we shall soon know if there is. Oh, there's not much chance he'll have anything to do with this. We must wait and see whether the laundry marks lead us anywhere.
They did. To the identity of the unfortunate victim. They were traced to a laundry in Shepherd's Bush. That's a suburb of West London, among whose customers was a family named Holt, who used these markings. Mrs. Holt was asked to visit the mortuary.
All the same, I can't see a lot of help in my coming here. As I told you, none of the family are missing.
There's a possibility that the clothes belonged to someone who had been employed in your house, a former servant, possibly. We must explore every avenue, so that if you could, not a very pleasant sight.
I'm quite ready.
Uncover it, Harvey.
That's enough. I know I knew her.
Come back into the other room. When you're ready, Mrs. Hill.
Her name is Mrs. Bowles. She was employed by me as a cook, only temporarily. I got her through a domestic agency. I had the address at home. If I could go now, please.
Mrs. Holt, I'm deeply sorry to have to put you through such an ordeal. You've done us a great service. With your help, we have identified our victim.
Using every available means to develop the lead supplied by Mrs. Holt, the detectives were able to piece together the history of the murdered woman. Her real name, they discovered, was not Bowles. It was Bonatti. She was living apart from her husband. She'd last been seen alive on May the 4th, 2 days before the trunk had been left at Charing Cross Station. Next came the task of tracing the trunk in its journey from the dealer's shop in Brixton to the station. A large black trunk is not a thing you can move unobtrusively. You can't, after all, just put it on your shoulder and saunter away whistling. Furniture removers, carriers, the local delivery departments of all the railway companies, taxicab drivers, and even the public transport systems were all notified. Rather surprisingly, it was a bus conductor who supplied the next bit of evidence.
Of course I remember him. A fellow with a big black trunk. I was in 2 minds whether to let him on. Brixton it was. But the bus wasn't full, so on he come. And I remember he goes staggering off again if it was just a row stop. Not it was heavy, I gave him an hand with it. Just bulky, you know. Felt fairly empty to me.
Further hue and cry and routine searches produced our old friend, the taxi driver.
Yes, he hailed me as I was going along Rochester Row. Oh, I recognised that trunk right enough. Heavy. Blimey, I'll say it was. But I reckon me back. He said it was full of books, he did. Well, anyhow, I took him to Charing Cross.
The threads were linking together and convincing Cornish that the solution lay somewhere in Rochester Row. Heading a squad of detectives, he interviewed every person employed or living there. And presently, in a block of offices right opposite Westminster Police Court, he found a solicitor's park.
Yes, sir. I remember seeing a black trunk lying about the corridor. I assumed it belonged to some firm or other upstairs in the building. I was quite assured of.
On with the search, but none of the other tenants could help the detectives. Finally, he came to a suite of empty rooms. He went to the renting agent who had let them.
They were let to a firm called Edwards & Co. State and Business Transfer Company, they call themselves. As far as I could discover, the firm consisted of one man. John Robinson, his name is. He took the offices on, let's see. Yes, March the 9th. Paid a month in advance. The next thing I heard from him was on May the 9th. I'll find the letter.
May the 9th. The day before we investigated the contents of the trunk.
Here you are. Dear sir, I am to inform you that I have gone broke, so cannot use your office any further. Now, it seems to me, as Mr. Robinson is so frank about his financial condition, you stand a very good chance of finding out more about him from his bank.
Fortunately, the renting agent was able to supply the name of Robinson's bank, and this bank in turn gave Inspector Cornish their client's private address. You see what I mean about amateur detectives? All the little details which they remembered. The cloakroom attendant, the taximan, the bus driver, the renting agent. When linked together, forged a chain of evidence which led to John Robinson's address in the London suburb of Camberwell. You may be sure the inspector wasted no time in getting there. But it was too late. The bird had flown. The search for John Robinson had to start all over again. The search for John Robinson was once again in full swing. It is so often a very little thing which puts Scotland Yard on the right. Delivered left by the postal authorities, and his landlady passed it over to Inspector Cornish.
We'll have a look and see what it's about. Says the postal authorities are unable to deliver a telegram addressed to Robinson, Greyhound Hotel, Hammersmith.
Well, now that's funny.
What?
Well, I remember he told me his wife was working in Hammersmith.
Oh, I wonder if she still is.
She was. And to his surprise and delight, he was able to give details of her husband's movements. It was only then a matter of hours before Robinson was face to face with the inspector.
Those were my movements at the time, to the best of my knowledge, Inspector. Mind you, there might be one or two odd details I've forgotten. You know how it is.
That's quite understood, Mr. Robinson.
As for this Bernardi woman, whatever her name is, I repeat, I know nothing whatsoever about her, except, of course, that I read in the newspaper.
Well, thank you. You've been extremely open with us, Mr. Robinson.
Well,
man from a long distance.
Oh, yes, I see.
Now, in the circumstances, would you have any objection to come along with me to see him?
Isn't it the usual procedure to have more than one man along so that the witnesses have to pick him up?
I can arrange for it to be done, my cat, if you prefer.
Very well. In that case, I suppose I'd better go along with you. Though I want some other men there, too. I don't want to be identified by mistake.
To the second-hand dealer's little flat over his shop. They found the dealer muffled in blankets, sitting before the living room fire.
Well, I'm sorry to have to bother you like this, and I want to thank you for letting us all come along.
Not at all, Inspector. A bit of excitement will do me good.
Though I think it would be best if we got this over as quickly as possible. Now, you know what I want you to do, don't you?
See if I can identify any of these 5 gentlemen as the one who bought that trunk from me. I feel rather funny about this.
Well, perhaps it'll make it then all volunteer to come here of their own free will. Well, now, let's get going. You identify any of these men as the person who bought the trunk?
No good, Inspector. To the best of my knowledge, the man you're after isn't in this room.
That was a decided setback for Scotland Yard. But worse was to follow when they visited the cabin.
Hey, Inspector, the bloke you're after ain't one of these gentlemen. I got an eye for faces, and I'd take my oath I'd know him if I saw him again. I told you how I'd remembered picking him and everything. No, sir, he ain't one of this lot. Take it from me.
And so that was that. Well, the no alternative for Inspector Cornish but to let Mr. Robinson go. It was a very disappointed but by no means defeated inspector who returned to the yard. Now, it's standard practice, as I mentioned in another of these casebook histories, for the police, when they find themselves at a dead end, to start again from the beginning of the case and review step by step every report and every clue. Going over the ground, they call it. So the murder squad gathered in the inspector's office. And the trunk? Minus the remains of Mrs. Bonatti. But with all the other articles found in it, it was brought into the room.
Well, this is where we've got to start again. I'd have bet any money it was Robinson, but I had to let him go. There's one slim lead you might follow up, though. There must be 20 or 30 newspapers in the trunk. Might piece them together and see if any of them are local editions of a particular district.
What about the old duster that was among all the torn bits of clothing?
Ah, here it is. Well, the medical boys have been working on it, and the blood on it matches the rest. It's the same group as Mrs. Bonatti's. Here, wait a minute. I just thought of something. That duster. It's the only thing that hasn't been checked for laundry marks since it wasn't a piece of clothing. Have it washed and examined carefully, will you, Seymour?
Very good, sir.
Now, that leaves nothing but the trunk itself and the label. Let's examine everything thoroughly once again.
Every square inch of the trunk was examined. The torn and crumpled newspapers were pieced together. Every detail of the case was carefully reviewed. But the chances of finding a useful lead appeared to be growing less and less. Until...
Come in. Yes, Seymour?
We found something. Look, sir. Here's the duster. It's been washed clean.
Oh, that's a nice job of laundry work. I don't see anything on it. Not a mark.
No, sir. You said examine it carefully. So I took it up to the lab. Here's a photograph of it taken under the ultraviolet lamp.
Well, I've been jiggered. Good work, Seymour. Here, come and take a look at this, you chap. Greyhound Hotel printed right across the top of the duster. But the letters were too faded for the naked eye to see them.
Or for Mr. Robinson to see them.
Yes, how right you are. Well, his wife will know something about this duster. Check up on it, Seymour.
Yes, sir.
Clark, you and I are going to have one more look at Mr. Robinson's office. And when I say look, I mean inch by inch. If he dismembered the body there, I don't see how he could have done it without leaving some trace, however minute. Come on.
No luck so far, sir. Except that hairpin I found behind the gas fire. That might be anybody's.
Yes. Now then, we've examined the floor, the desk, the chair. What else is there? The wastepaper basket. Where is it?
Here, sir.
Cigarette ash all over the bottom. Hello. Here, give me the tweezers. Thanks.
What is it, sir?
Looks like a match tucked down in the corner. Yes. There we are. That's got it. Now then, where's that magnifying glass?
See anything, sir?
Yes. A tiny stain right on one end. It seems to me we've got something here. This is Exhibit A, all right. That's blood, Sergeant. Blood.
That matchstick and the duster are going to make things very difficult for Mr. Robinson.
Yes. We'll see how he goes about explaining his way out of this. We'll give him plenty of time. Yes, that's the answer. Give him plenty of time.
Now, why did the inspector say that? Is that the way you tackle this problem? Here's this fellow Robinson who proved himself to be a most plausible rascal, and yet the inspector speaks about giving him plenty of time. Time to think up more explanations calculated to keep him out of trouble. If you're a psychologist, I expect you've thought of the answer to that one. And, of course, Inspector Cornish has spent long years in being trained in criminal psychology. You'll see how cleverly he put his knowledge to work. One thing he wasted no time about was picking up Robinson. When that gentleman opened his eyes at 8 o'clock next morning, he found 2 detective sergeants in his bedroom. They told him to dress and took him to Scotland Yard. And then, in his office, the inspector waited. And waited. And waited.
Aren't you going to add him out, sir? He's been cooling his heels in that corridor for over an hour. When you've been in this game as long as I have, you'll learn that a suspect who knows his suspect appreciates the gravity of his position if you keep him hanging around a bit. I think we should be hearing from Mr. Robinson very soon. Yes? What's he done? Has something to say. Bring him in at once. Good morning, Mr. Robinson.
Look here, I thought you'd finished with questioning me.
Well, quite a lot has happened since I last talked to you, Robinson. A lot that you couldn't be expected to know about.
What are you getting at?
Just this. Further examination of the contents of that trunk in your office have brought to light some very significant clues. I don't mind telling you that as far as I'm concerned, the case is solved.
What are these clues? I have a right to know, haven't I?
Excuse me a moment. Hello? Yes, sir? Yes, certainly, sir. I'll come up immediately. Now, you stay in here, Robinson. I'll be back presently. Now, think over what I've just told you.
Of course, Inspector Cornish had no intention of telling Robinson what clues he found. And that telephone call coming exactly at the right moment. Well, as a matter of fact, the inspector signaled for it to come then. He wanted to leave Robinson alone. Give him time to think. Just consider what that man's frame of mind must have been. He thought he was free, that he'd cleverly escaped justice. Then, out of a sound sleep, he wakes to find the detectives waiting for him. Now he's alone in Scotland Yard. The police apparently know everything. He's trapped. Just when he's convinced himself he's nothing to fear. What must have been going on in his mind? I believe we can reconstruct his train of thought as he's just waiting for the inspector's return. Almost a full hour has gone by. The inspector has given him plenty of time.
What do I do when he does come? What have they found out? I didn't make any mistakes. I know I didn't. I've been over it and over it, again and again. How can I be certain?
He said he'd solved the case. Very clever.
So clever. I must have let something slip. If I don't say something, they'll know I'm guilty. Last time they questioned me, I had it all thought out. I had a story. It worked. They let me go. Well, I've got to have a story ready now. But how can I think of a story? He'll be back in a minute. She fell. That's it. She fell. I'll say she fell. I'll say I want to tell him all about it. Inspector.
Robinson, I'm back.
I want to tell you all about it.
Yeah, I hope you'll make a statement.
You'll know just the bare facts. That's all you can know. I wanted to hear my side of it.
Go ahead.
I did know Mrs. Bonatti. Well, it doesn't matter how I met her. She came to my office. She tried to get money out of me. Blackmail, that's what it was, Inspector. Well, I'll tell you about that later. She bent down to pick up something from the fireplace. I thought she was going to attack me. I flew into a temper and struck her.
Where did you strike her?
What? Oh, on her face, on the left side of her face. Just with my hand. It wasn't a hard blow. But you see, she was bent over and it knocked her down. She hit her head on the fireplace as she fell. I thought she was stunned. Serves her right, I said to myself. So I just left the office and went home. But when I came back in the morning, she was still there. I knew she was dead then. I must have gone crazy. All I could think of was to get rid of the body.
Is that all?
No, the rest.
At his trial, Robinson's defense made a determined effort to prove that the crime was only one of manslaughter, but it was a hopeless task. The Scotland Yard pathologists proved beyond question that death had been caused not by a blow, but by strangulation. Robinson paid for his atrocious crime with his life. This case caused considerable public interest, and at the time of the trial, a friend of mine happened to ask her grocer whether he thought Robinson was guilty or not. Well, Mummy replied, I don't know whether he is or whether he isn't, but what I do know is you never find a nice girl in a trunk.
Sorry about the quality of that one. I did clean it up as best I could, but it was a bit of a challenge. I hope you found this story as interesting as I did, and an interesting study in crime solving. And that brings us to the end of this episode of Ron's Amazing Stories. We've heard tales from the shadowed alleyways and the gaslit streets of Old London, where crimes were committed, clues were scarce, and Scotland Yard stood as the last line between justice and the underworld. Charles Peace, violinist, gentleman thief, and cold-blooded killer, proved that even the most cunning criminal can't outplay the long arm of the law forever. And as for the curious case of the matchstick and the duster, well, it just shows that sometimes the smallest details can crack the biggest cases. Secrets of Scotland Yard gave us not only suspense and drama, but a glimpse into how real detectives once worked. No digital databases, no DNA kits, just gut instinct, sharp observation, and a lot of shoe leather. If you enjoyed today's stories, be sure to tune in next week when we return with more tales from the golden age of radio, where the past is always present and the shadows speak a little louder than they used to. Until then, I'm Ron, thanking you for joining me on this journey through time. Be well, be curious, and as always, keep your ears open. One more thing today. This is a story of a podcast that absolutely should not have survived, and yet it did. Don was not your typical podcast host. For starters, he didn't have a microphone until episode 12. The first 11 episodes of Don's Astounding Stories were recorded on an old answering machine he bought at a garage sale from a man named Steve who may or may not have been a raccoon in a trench coat. The show's premise? Astounding Stories? Probably. That's it. No one, not even Don, knew exactly what the show was about. Sometimes it was science fiction, other times it was Don reading old cereal box riddles and insisting that they were prophecies from the future. Episode 43 was just him narrating a 1993 Sears catalog while trying to do a British accent. Unfortunately, the accent was Russian by the end. But somehow, inexplicably, the show grew. It began with episode 98 titled The UFO That Stole My Kidney, But Gave Me a Coupon. It went viral on a conspiracy theory forum hosted entirely on a calculator watch. From there, the fan base snowballed. largely made up of insomniacs, taxidermists, and at least one minor royal from a country that no longer exists. Don, for his part, had no idea. He only discovered he was famous after a fan mailed him a bust made entirely of spam. The meat product, not the emails, although both were involved. By episode 200, Don introduced a co-host, an AI named Crank, acronym for kind of reliable and not yet killing. Crank was designed to fact-check Don, but quickly gave up and started writing haiku about toaster ovens. Their odd couple banter became legendary, especially during the great sock puppet interview debacle of episode number 347, where both Don and Crank forgot that sock puppets don't have vocal cords. Don never monetized the show, not because of principle, but because he kept losing his PayPal password. At one point, a big streaming company offered to buy the podcast for a 6-figure deal. Don replied with, "I only work in root vegetables and expired Radio Shack coupons." And, of course, the negotiation stalled. But somehow, 700 episodes were made. To celebrate, Don decided to do something special. A live broadcast from inside a giant papier-mâché model of a black hole. He invited all 3 of his listeners. It turns out that there were thousands, but only 3 could figure out the RSVP form, which was accidentally written in Morse code, backward. During the broadcast, Don reminisced. People said I couldn't do it, that I didn't have a voice, the skill, or the basic understanding of a record button. And they were right. But here we are, 700 episodes later, and I only fell asleep during the show 19 times. There was some applause, and then static. Then came what might have been Crank proposing to an electric kettle. And so Don's astounding stories carried on. Not because it was the best, the smartest, or even remotely coherent, but because sometimes, against all odds, a podcast doesn't need polish. It just needs Don. And maybe a trench-coated raccoon named Steve. Now, speaking of 700 episodes, this little satirical salute is my way of saying thank you. Because today, Ron's Amazing Stories really does hit 700. That's right, we made it. And unlike Don, I actually own a microphone. Most days. To all of you that have listened, laughed, shared, and stuck with me through all the twists, turns, and tales from the golden age of radio to the edge of imagination, I say thank you. That was episode number 700, and it was brought to you by Audible. Head to audibletrial.com/Ron's Amazing Stories and get a free audiobook today. When you do, you help out the show. Thank you for listening. If you want to follow the podcast or the blog, head to ronsamazingstories.com. There you will find any of the links that I mentioned and how to contact us. Do you want to help the show? The best thing you can do is to tell your friends all about us and leave reviews and comments wherever you listen. Clicking that follow or like button helps us grow. Thank you for listening, and I hope you come again to find out what are Ron's Amazing Stories.
All of the vintage audio used in the podcast is believed to be in the public domain. Ron's Amazing Stories does not own the rights to any of the old-time radio used here. If you hold the rights to any of the shows played, please contact us immediately at ronsamazingstories.com.